Coming up on Tech News Today, I'm in the studio. The 3DS gets huge. Larry Page can't talk and it incites panic. And Reddit to success. All that and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is, in fact, Tech News Today for Friday, June 22nd, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to Squarespace.com and use offer code TNT6, and they now offer free domain registration with annual plan subscriptions. And by Gazelle, the easy way to sell your iPhone, iPad, iPod, or Android smartphones from your home or office so you can get the latest versions. Get a risk-free quote that's good for 30 days at Gazelle.com. Welcome to Tech News Today. I am Tom Merritt, but I'm in Scott Johnson's studio.
And I'm Sarah Lane, and I'm in London.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar, and I'm in TWiT studio.
And, I'm not an ad. I'm Jason Howell, and I'm still here somehow. I don't know how that's...
We're making Jason's life as hard as possible because we're all in the wrong place except for Iyaz. And we also have with us Mark Turpin, who should be in England, but isn't. He's actually here. Wait, you're on our set?
Yeah, I'm on the set, just chilling, just hanging with Iyaz. Isn't that right, Iyaz?
That is totally correct. That is absolutely right. Turpin's right here. Look up exactly.
Crazy.
Everything is upside down.
Here, it's typical. I turn up, and Tom's not there. So thanks for that, Tom. I appreciate that. You know, all the way out to see you, even in the studio. But anyway, can't win them all.
I thought you were coming out to America to go to Nerdtacular in Utah.
Well, I'm going to go there later. I'm going to hop in and get going.
All right. Well, we'll dig into this a little deeper along with the rest of the discussion stories. But first, the top 10 stories of the day in the news feeds. Last night, Nintendo's North American COO, Reggie Fils-Aime, introduced the Nintendo 3DS XL for you plus-size Nintendo users. The new 3DS is reminiscent of the DSi in that it's mostly just bigger. The top screen goes from 3.53 inches to 4.88. The bottom screen grows from 3.02 to 4.18. And battery life is claimed to be longer, too, at 6.5 hours. Also, the included SD card gets an upgrade from 2 gigabytes to 4 gigabytes. The XL will come to Europe and Japan on July 28th and North America August 19th for $199.
Bloomberg reports that Microsoft's Surface tablet will initially be available as a Wi-Fi-only model, according to anonymous sources. For a tablet that's already been touted as the true iPad competitor, it's going to start things off at a disadvantage for consumers who count on data connections, at least. The Surface is due out later this year.
If you connect Zynga.com to Facebook, you will see some familiar ads on the right side of the page. The same personalized ads that appear when you're on Facebook will show up on Zynga.com. Now, Facebook issued a statement saying the company will not be showing ads on other sites at this time. However, this move has a lot of people thinking that this is the beginning of a much larger Facebook ad network.
Interesting. Google CEO Larry Page is not known for public speaking, but he raised a few eyebrows when he skipped yesterday's annual stockholder meeting where Google announced a new class of non-voting stock. On top of that, Eric Schmidt announced Page would be absent at the Google I/O developers event next week and absent at the Q2 earnings call come July.
Ever comment on someone's Facebook update and you think you're being really witty and cool, and then an hour later you realized you spelled somebody's name wrong or something equally embarrassing? Well, soon you're going to be able to edit comments after you publish them. Although there is a twist. Facebook's also including an edit history to all users that will show the previous versions of your comment. So if you edit for good, no problem. But if you edit to troll, everyone will know.
That's a good thing.
ICANN's got a new big boss. Say hello to Fadi Chahadi. He'll be the new CEO of the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers starting this October. Right now, Chahadi is the CEO of Vacato, a cloud-based administrative software company, and previously worked at IBM. Current CEO Rod Beckstrom is leaving ICANN after 3 years in July. No word if Chahadi got the job by telling himself, "I think I can."
Also, if you're if you're a part of the assigned names team, you need to have a good name. Android users, you are deprived no more. Flipboard for Android is out of beta and available to all. The app takes articles from your Google Plus feed along with Twitter and Facebook and adds support for YouTube video feeds as well. In addition to the Google Play Store, it's also available in the Amazon App Store, the Nook Store, and Samsung apps.
Even though floods in Thailand last year disrupted the hard drive manufacturing market and inflated prices, the cost of solid-state drives is plummeting. According to the tech report, two 40 gigabyte and 256 gigabyte drives from OCZ, Corsair, and Crucial have all fallen over 50% since last year. Intel's 320 series is an exception, which uses a proprietary Intel controller. Hasn't seen much change, but overall, a 48% drop in the average price of flash storage drive.
Google's made some price cuts to the Google Maps API. Now, Google had started charging up to $4 per 1,000 map loads after using up the free allotment. However, after developers backed away, Google has lowered its prices. Now it will cost 50 cents per 1,000 map loads.
That's half. No, that's a big discount, but still charging. As expected, AMD announced the Radeon HD 7970 Gigahertz Edition for $499 and expected to be available next week. This is the updated version of the HD 7970 from the end of last year, but with a gigahertz board, which puts AMD back in front of NVIDIA's GTX 680, at least for the moment. Besides the clock speed, the new 7970 comes with better ways to boost voltage and overclock, as well as the claim that it is, quote, the world's first T-flop double precision floating point GPU. Just rolls right off the tongue. All right, we're going to dig into some of these discussion stories a little deeper, but let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Squarespace.com. If you're like, Tom, you guys, hey, you're at Scott Johnson's studio. Reminds me you're not doing forecast anymore. You can relive all the forecasts at forecastpodcast.com because of Squarespace. That's where we host the site. It's so easy to make a site. We just leave it up there forever. Squarespace is easy to use. It's pretty. And they have several great incentives happening during June. June's running out, so you might want to take advantage of this now. It's one of the best times to sign up for a new Squarespace account if you've been thinking about it. Squarespace is now offering free domain registration to all annual plan customers that is completely integrated with its sign-up process, so it's hassle-free. And what's around a $15 value, depending on where you get these things, is just part of signing up for Squarespace, and you get to keep the domain name afterwards. Squarespace recently reduced its prices. It's now offering plans as low as $8 a month, and Squarespace is still giving you 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. So if you get a monthly account, 10% off the first month. If you sign up for a whole year at once, you actually get 10% off the entire first year on annual plans. But don't take our word for it. Go try it for free. You don't have to give them a credit card or anything. Just put a name in there. If you want, you can actually import your current blog and see how it looks. Play around with the templates. If you know some CSS and HTML, you can do that, but you don't have to know that stuff to make a great-looking blog. Try it out for free, and if you decide to purchase it, use the offer code TNT6 and get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. Don't forget about free domain registration with the annual plan subscriptions at squarespace.com. Use offer code TNT6, and we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Also want to thank Scott for letting me use his studio. If you're into nerds, check out nerdtacular.com. It's too late to join us this year, but you're going to see a lot of fun happening, and you're going to want to join for next year. Which is good. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can keep track of things on the live stream. So you can't join us in person, but you can join us virtually. All right, let's start with the Nintendo 3DS XL. What's going on with this thing, Iyaz, other than just bigger?
Yeah, so there was a 20-minute Nintendo Direct video. Now, in the 20 minutes, about 3 of them were dedicated to the new 3DS XL. As you mentioned in the news views, $199 for 90% larger screens. And the claim is better battery life on this device compared to the old one. And I'm going to throw this to Terpster since he's actually here, unlike everybody else. What do we think of this move? I mean, it's typical Nintendo at this point.
I could have sworn he was like right over my shoulder earlier.
I don't. You must be imagining things. But the thing is, it's typical Nintendo.
There's 2 of them.
They are regularly going to rev their handhelds. But now this is the 3DS. The 3DS didn't sell that well. It did well when they cut the price. Is this move okay for the modern market, or is this just Nintendo just doing more of the same?
I think it's tricky, really. When we look at what there is actually on the market at the moment with the Vita, and you've got tablets and smartphones becoming even more of a thing. There's a definite space for competition. I think this seems quite an ill thought move, though, in that they've literally just made the screen bigger and made the battery potentially like 30 minutes longer in actual use. So I don't think we really could have, they've really done as they could have. It still just has one analog stick. If they'd managed to put in a second analog stick, that's a cat on my shoulder there. If they put a second analog stick in and kind of make the hardware better, I think that would have seen a lot of people go out and get this, potentially people who've already got a 3DS. But as it stands, it seems a weird thing to do. I don't think many people were holding off waiting for a bigger screen. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. That's exactly what...
You bring up a good point. There's no second circle pad. Nintendo introduced that as a 3DS attachment back in December. They announced it, and they released it in February. But they didn't bother to upgrade the hardware beyond the bigger screen. So is this something – I mean, it just seems like they're just revving into their normal cycles. They're going to go, okay, this is what we did with the DS. We made it bigger. People bought it. But, I mean, it seems like they need to make some changes. Tom, what do you think?
I think what they're doing here is, especially because they kept the price, or they have the price at $199, is they're saying, those of you who might not have been interested before in the 3DS, because we thought 3D was going to be enough, let's make a different form factor. That seemed to have worked for them with the DSi, I guess they think. I'm not sure that it worked all that well, but they figure, let's come up with something that catches people's eye and maybe changes their mind, or at the very worst just gets them thinking about it again. I agree with you, though. I don't think anyone was out there thinking, the one problem I have with the 3DS is it's too small. If it was 90% bigger, by golly, I'd buy one. But I do think this will catch a lot of people's eye, and that's what Nintendo needs right now, is people thinking about Nintendo more.
So I'm also
potentially, though, with the Wii U on the horizon, I don't know if this could be used in conjunction with that. Maybe with it having a panel that is almost like the Wii U controller, possibly that becomes a more useful tool then.
When I first read the story, I thought, it's almost as if they're making the sort of changes that some cell phone manufacturers are making. Bigger is better. Battery life is longer. I mean, none of this stuff sounds really bad, but it doesn't really change the fact that this is still a device for gaming that doesn't do a lot of other things that people can do on mobile devices, and that's why Nintendo was hurting in the first place. Anyone?
Well, no, I was actually thinking about this. The thing is, when it comes to Nintendo, right? They're taking a loss on the original 3DS. I wonder if they had the supply chain in line so that they're not taking such a loss on such a device. Because in $199, Nintendo usually make money on the hardware, and they make money on the software. A lot of the other companies will take a loss on a console, make it back up with licensing in the long run. But because of the timing of this, I'd assume that basically all the parts inside pretty much the same. The screen is different. There's a different casing. But because there isn't any huge changes other than the screen, perhaps Nintendo can make a profit on this device more so than they could have with the original 3DS.
All right, we were all just doing our imitation of Larry Page because he's apparently speechless. Sarah, what's going on? We had an investors conference yesterday.
Yeah, so we talked about that a little in the show, that Larry Page was not there. The annual stockholder meeting is basically the company approving plans to introduce new non-voting stock. In very simple terms, the idea is that Larry Page and Sergey Brin now have a combined 56% of the voting power at the company, and if they can offer more stock that does not have voting power, it ensures that they can still drive the decisions of the company moving forward. Now, it's a little bit complicated because right now there are some shareholders who have launched a class action lawsuit against Google. It was a complaint filed in the Delaware State Court, which announced that which alleges, rather, that the board breached its duty and is basically kind of caving to the wishes of Page and Brin. So it remains to be seen if this is all going to go smoothly. But the company did approve it, and again, meant to ensure that pretty much Page and Brin can overrule anything that any other shareholders vote on if they don't agree. What's sort of weird about this whole thing is that CEO Larry Page was not there. And Liz Gaines at All Things T noted there was a chair. This was a recorded stockholder meeting, and there was a chair that was left open on stage throughout the presentation. It was a presentation that Eric Schmidt pretty much ran. It was kind of meant to almost invoke the idea that maybe he had to just dash off at the last minute. Everybody expected him to be there, but for whatever reason he wasn't, and they didn't want to get rid of the chair. Well, what's interesting is not only is he not going to be, not only did he not make this meeting, he's likely not going to be at I.O. at all next week, which of course is a really big deal. But not just that, he's not expected to be part of the company's quarterly earnings, which is next month in July. The reason? Lost his voice. Now, of course,
is that an official reason or just speculation?
No, that's what they're telling us. That's what they're telling us, is that he lost his voice, and so why would he be there if he can't talk? And I think we've all had laryngitis, or yelled at a soccer game, or Terps or football, enough to know that when you don't have your voice, it can be very, very frustrating to try to use it, and you only make it worse, and it's just kind of annoying for everybody. But that usually doesn't last as long as a month, if not longer. So, of course, there's speculation of, hey, this is the guy in charge of Google. It's a huge company. What's wrong? What's really going on now? Obviously, we don't want to speculate on what his health might be. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe they're just being really, really careful. Maybe his voice has been bothering him for a long time. But the whole thing is rather odd, especially since he has a reputation of not liking public speaking anyway. So it would be a strange it would be a strange reason for him to not show up at obviously really big events. Google I/O is a big deal. You want everybody there as much as possible. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I being a little paranoid and reading too much into this?
Well, yeah, without focusing on the whys of his disappearance, the fact that you have the CEO of this major company unexpectedly miss an investors conference, which is an important thing for a CEO to be back at, and then say, and I'm not coming to the developers conference, and I'm not going to be on the earnings call, which is a couple weeks away. It's unsettling for whatever reason, because you wonder, well, can the guy run the company? Now, if they did come out and they said, well, he lost his voice, that explains the current thing. And, of course, you're not going to do a big talk if you lost your voice. Everybody understands that. But as far into the future as they're saying he's not going to be available, it raises questions. And you could start speculating about all kinds of reasons why, but it raises questions. What is really going on? Not because we think that Larry Page can't do his job or that he's going to, have some disaster. It just makes you wonder, like, okay, tell us why he's not going to be on that earnings call. Even, I mean, they probably would never say this, but even if they're like, you know what, he just needs to rest up and recover, I'd accept that.
I mean, this news was put out, I think, yesterday, and the stock market had a whole day to deal with it, and nothing really negative happened to the stock. Usually, if there's really a medical condition or there's something serious, you'd think that the investors would freak out. But the thing about Google, and actually about Larry Page, is that he's pretty straightforward when it comes to things. When he wanted to basically shift and flatten Google and change the management style entirely, he did that. And if he wants to eventually just say, look, I'm never, ever doing another public speaking engagement, that wouldn't surprise me either. But the thing is, I think one of the reasons why the markets didn't freak out is because Google has strong leadership between Page, Brin, and Schmidt. They're pretty much set up there. Voice or no voice, Page will have an impact no matter what.
I'll tell you who's going to freak out are Microsoft's vendor partners, because now there's rumors that they're going to make a phone.
Yes, there's a rumor now. Now, obviously this week, the Microsoft Surface tablet was revealed, but an analyst for Nomura, Rick Sherland, told investors this morning that he learned that Pegatron is working on a handset for Microsoft. So a handset, okay? Now, the project wouldn't be available until somewhere around 2013. But
handset just means smartphone, though, right?
It appears to be, unless it's some kind of weird landline, which I totally doubt.
No, it's not.
Now, here's the thing. Microsoft, obviously, they bought Danger a couple years ago. They had a phone that they sent out there that a lot of people want to forget, including Microsoft. I mean, does it make any sense for Microsoft to make its own phone after how tightly controlled they made the hardware requirements for Windows Phone 7? Because that's exactly what Microsoft wanted. They wanted, this is the way we're going to have it, single core, this much RAM, this screen resolution. So they were able to control the way that is. What benefit would it be to Microsoft to market its own line of phones?
The same benefit that they get from making its own line of tablets.
See, the difference there is
which is murky anyway. I mean, we've been talking about this the last couple of days, but it all of a sudden seems more likely than it did even a week ago.
It definitely seems more likely. But what I'm saying is that because of the hardware requirements they don't usually put that on the OEMs for tablets or PCs. They can be spec'd out in any which way. Versus the phones, they really were tightly controlled there. It just seems like would they go back to the well after the Kin failure? Would they? It doesn't seem like Microsoft to go, yeah, you know what, we failed in that really, really poorly, but we'll have our own flagship phone.
But I think that's what they want, though, is they want to have what Apple have. Apple has the phone. They produce their own devices, and I think Microsoft looks at what they have and wants it. And they were the bigger company and the broader guy. And if Surface takes off, they show that they can really produce a high-quality piece of hardware, then why not? If they bring out a phone that interacts with their tablet better and they can build in more features for computers, why not break out into that market if it's something they can do it and do it well?
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily are saying we want to be like Apple in all respects. Obviously, they don't want to be like Apple when it comes to Windows 8 and Windows 7. They want manufacturers to use it, and that's how they dominate the market 90%. But I think what they're coming around to is our attempt to do that on phones and tablets hasn't worked. So maybe what we need to do is pretend to be Apple for a little while to show them how it's done, so that then people get the idea, oh, okay, it's not the operating system it's bad, it's the hardware that's been made is bad, and then the vendors are goosed a little to compete with Microsoft and make better hardware. And I think that's where we get some of these rumors of people saying Microsoft's just doing this to get the hardware manufacturers a jump start, and then they'll pull out eventually. If they were to do a phone, and again, this is just an analyst saying, hey, Pegatron's making screens, I bet Microsoft's making a phone. I think Microsoft would make, again, a very different kind of phone, a signature phone that would stand out in the marketplace as a way to say, look, you all are making all of this hardware that looks like other hardware. Let's make something that really catches people's eye to show off Windows Phone at its best advantage. Then people will want to have Windows Phone phones, and you can riff off that and actually beat Apple because you can have multiple models that satisfy different tastes rather than just one. But we need that one-star phone to get the market jump-started. I think that's possible there.
But Tom, isn't that what they did with Nokia? They partnered with them to make a very unique phone. They have a business partner. What benefit would it be to Microsoft to go, we'll make our own, and basically say to Nokia, you're a partner and everything, and you were for about a year, but we're going to have a phone that's better than yours. It just seems like
they're not saying, Nokia, you're not a partner anymore. They're just saying, well, okay, great try with the Lumia, but it didn't work. Let's put one out as Microsoft because maybe people are avoiding Nokia because they don't like Nokia, or Nokia doesn't have the right relationships with the carriers, and we do. And in the end, it will benefit Nokia because more people will want to buy Windows phones and they'll buy more Nokia phones. That's the only way I think they can sell it to the vendors.
It just sounds like a GM coming out to the mountains like, okay, kid, okay, you can sit down. We're going to get another picture right now.
Yeah, but they're not. The difference is Nokia's still in the game. They're just putting them out in right field. They're not sending them to the bench.
Fair enough.
They're having the shortstop pitch. It's very late in the game for Microsoft.
It's the 18th inning.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm sure that's all very good.
Come in on the end of the line after the blood bin.
Right. The fly half. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know what does make sense, though, is selling your gadgets to buy new ones. So let's thank our other sponsor for today's show. You want these new gadgets wherever they're coming from. You need a little extra cash, and you need to make room for them. So get rid of your old iPad or your old iPod or that old Mac or your smartphone. Go to Gazelle.com and don't hassle yourself trying to sell this stuff. Do a little typing and get money. It's super easy. You get a risk-free quote. It's good for 30 days. It's simple and fast, Gazelle.com. Type in the name of whatever it is that you're selling. Tell them what condition it's in, what wires you have. They'll give you a quote. You have 30 days to think about it, to print out that mailing label, slap it on the box, send that thing on its way to Gazelle, and then they'll pay you fast. You can get it by PayPal. You can get it by check. You can get an Amazon gift card. You get 5% more, actually, when you get an Amazon gift card. It's a great way to get cash to put towards your latest devices. There's no easier way to sell gadgets. And it helps you feel better about your gadget habits because you're putting them back out there to be reused and recycled. Remember, gadgets don't get more valuable over time. Go to Gazelle.com, lock in that offer today, and think about it. When you see how easy it is, and you're going to want to take that money, you'll be glad you did. Take a minute and just go find out how much it's worth. Do it now, because the sooner you do, the more money your gadgets will be worth. Visit Gazelle.com for your risk-free quote today, and we thank them for their support of Tech News Today. More discussion, this time about Reddit. Reddit co-founder Steve Huffman has been making videos for an online education service called Udacity. And in part 2 of one of his classes, he admitted that Redditors, the Reddit founders, created fake profiles to make Reddit look more popular in June 2005. Actually, let's play the video now and hear it in his own words. It's pretty fascinating.
If Alexis and I went to the page, we had a third field called user, and we could type in a name here. And then when we hit submit, we would automatically register this user if that name didn't exist and submit the content as that user. So you would go to Reddit in the early days, the first couple of months, and there'd be tons of content. It was, I shouldn't say fake content, but it was fake users. It was really all just Alexis and I. And that did 2 things. And I think this is important to any site where you want to have a community feel. The first thing it did was it set the tone. Websites have this kind of inertia, and we submitted content that we would be interested in seeing. And that meant the content on Reddit, at least for us and for our kind of peer group, it was good. Interesting stuff. We wanted a site with the most interesting content online, and so we did our best to find it, and then we submitted that content ourselves. So when you show up to Reddit, you kind of know what the site's all about. The other thing it did is it made the site feel alive. Users like to feel a part of something. If they showed up to the website and the front page was blank, it just looks like a ghost town. You don't want to live in a ghost town. You'd rather live in New York City. Most people would. That's why New York City's so big, and ghost towns, by definition, aren't. That was really fortunate. And I don't know what made us.
It's pretty funny ending there. But this has got a lot of people talking about it. Some people are saying this is no big deal. This is not even a story. So they created a few fakes users in the early days to get people interested in the site, and then they stopped doing it. If they were still doing it today, maybe that would be a controversy, but it's really nothing. Other people are saying that's horrible. Reddit is actively fighting people from gaming the system these days on Reddit, and yet they gamed the system at the beginning, and they're calling them hypocrites. Iyaz, start with you. Which side do you fall on? Do you think this is no big deal, or is Reddit being hypocritical?
I think it's no big deal because it's when they started the actual site. I mean, this isn't like now where it's developed and there actually are millions of users. The thing about any of these, any actually company, when they want to have publicity, they set up events all the time. They might have paid actors, plants in an audience. I don't know, maybe you're at a keynote somewhere, and then there's, I don't know, some kind of employee that starts clapping wildly because this is the point we're supposed to do it. It's not like it's that unusual to have plants in there. But if the actual content wasn't any good, if the system wasn't any good, this Reddit would have failed. And the thing is, when it comes to Reddit, the sense of community was there. It's still there. I'm there usually. I enjoy it there. So I think that if the product was no good, it would fail. And they should be curtailing it now because why not? It has to keep it clean.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, like novelty accounts, they're some of the best bits of it. And I think most of those, and you see the true beautiful novelty account, are staged, really. I think that's a harsh fact. So I think those, not by Reddit founders, obviously, but people are out there. They are engineering, their own destiny there and trying to make it a little bit more entertaining. In this circumstance, I don't think it's too much of a problem. The sites that launch and they've put up, loads of articles and things like that. It'd be equivalent, I guess, of maybe, seeding some comments in to try and generate passion. And I wouldn't be put that either. I think that's a fine thing to do.
Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all of you that I'm not personally too bowled over by this whole thing. It's not really that surprising that a site that's trying to get off the ground, especially if you think about to the time that Reddit first came onto my radar, they were, a very, very strong dig competitor. So it was like they certainly didn't want to seem like a ghost town, and you kind of do what you got to do. That said, this isn't ethical to me. These are fake people that don't exist, and it's not like Alexis or Steve as co-founders were like, hey, we're just going to make it really clear that we've kind of got like Super User 1 and Alexis 3 and Reddit co-founder 4, but that's all me. So you guys get an idea of what we're trying to build here. There wasn't really an explanation of that, so it's not really ethical. Again, it's not surprising. Dig started, under the assumption that it was made by a friend of Kevin Rose's, when it was really Kevin Rose himself, and he was using a television platform to help get it off the ground and get user interest. That's a story that I'm not telling for the first time. It's kind of widely known, but is that ethical? I mean, a lot of this stuff it's kind of accepted because we realize that it's a very cutthroat game, and to get popular online is hard, and you got to do what you got to do. But doesn't really make any of this stuff ethical.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really harsh when you say they're being unethical. But I think if you think of it in a very technical way, I agree with you. It wasn't ethical. And at the time, I don't think it was also harmful. There was no one using Reddit, and they realized that if people came to Reddit and saw an empty page, that no one would come to Reddit. It's the same reason that restaurants want to have people in the windows so it looks like people are at the restaurant, because you're more likely to eat there. Now, could they have done it better, like you suggested, Sarah, having usernames that weren't fake, they were just multiple names? Possibly. And maybe if they went back today, that's how they would do it. But at the time, they're more worried about getting people to the site, not worried about the implications of what will happen when they become insanely popular, because they're not certain they're going to become insanely popular. So, yeah, I think in the end, it probably wasn't exactly the right thing to do, but I don't think it was harmful in any way. And I don't think that I trust Reddit less now, because they did stop doing it as soon as they had enough people showing up submitting links. It's not something that they continued to do to spike the results, at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think overall, in a very general sense, we're all suspicious, right? If something seems too good to be true, if there's an offer that you read online or a comment that's it's too much of a glowing report of something, we're all kind of trained to go, something is too good to be true. And I like to think that I'm pretty good at being able to being able to point that stuff out, just for all the time that I spend online. So when I hear stuff like this, I go, I understand that I wasn't hurt by this, but at the same time, it doesn't really sit right with me.
I think one of the reasons why I'm so forgiving about this is because this is just content aggregation. If this is something like Amazon and you're gaming the system when it comes to reviews, that kind of stuff really irks me, because you might part with money that way. But if you click a link and it's like, oh, that wasn't that great a story, you didn't really lose a whole lot that way. I think that's why I'm just like, okay, well, it's just content. I like Reddit content, so I'm biased.
Couple more discussion stories to finish us up. One, Samsung has come out with a version of Media Mushroom's Easy Phone Sync called Easy Phone Sync from Samsung. It's meant to help you switch specifically to Samsung products. The Register points out that it's really just a repackaged version of Easy Phone Tunes. I'm sorry, that's the actual name of it from Media Mushroom. Easy Phone Tunes is Android software you can use on any Android phone. Samsung's got a version called Easy Phone Sync, and they're marketing it as a, hey, iPhone users, now you can switch to the Samsung Galaxy S3 or any of our fine Samsung phones in an easy way, because what it does is transfer your music, your videos, your podcasts, your pictures, your contacts, your text message archives, all of that stuff from the iPhone to a Samsung device. And then if you use the desktop app from Media Mushroom, it keeps them synced with Android. So you can continue to manage your tunes in iTunes if you really like, and then this program will keep it synced to Android. So you can switch to a Galaxy S3 without having to give up that part of your management. Now, a lot of people say, no, you're better off going to something like Double Twist or going to the cloud, or just get away from iTunes altogether. But that is a barrier for some people, for whatever reason. They want to continue to manage their music in iTunes. And so this is a way to answer that and say, yeah, but you can still have a Samsung phone. Sarah, do you think this is going to work?
I hate the name Easy Phone Sync so much. Doesn't it sound like Easy Bake Oven or something? It's
free software.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I don't have a problem with this. I also think that Samsung, we talk about Samsung a lot as like, hey, Samsung is the only one who hasn't seen a downturn in the LCD market, or Samsung has 95% of the Android market. I know that's not true, but they're dominant. And I like the fact that Samsung is trying new stuff out, because they are kind of top dog right now, and they have a lot of attention, and a lot of people are starting to believe that what Samsung does is pretty cool. So yeah, I say go for it, Samsung.
So you're a big iPhone user. It's going to make the switch?
Totally. No, I would never make the switch unless they brought out an app that ported the App Store across. I mean, that's my main problem. I look at the Lumia and I think it's a beautiful phone. I mean, my friend's got about 8 of them, but it's because it's broken 7 times. But if they had the same app content, the same breadth.
Windows. What about Android? Android's got almost all the apps.
Some, but I don't know. I still get to have found a piece of hardware that I really love using along with that. Again, and the Samsung Galaxy Tab, for example, really nice tablet. It's got a lot going for it, and they've got like online there, which I really love. You can get that on iOS, you can get it on Android, so I'm sure there's arguments either way. That being said, no, I don't think I'd use it, but I like the effort, I like the gesture of trying to lower the barriers of entry. How can they make it easier? I think this would be great in computer games. If a new MMO comes out and they want you to port across your World of Warcraft character so you didn't lose out on anything, but you could play on their game, that'd be amazing. I don't know, where you get kind of a difference in ownership and things like that. But I like the concept behind it. It seems like a cool thing to get behind. It makes their product better and makes it easier for the user, which is win-win.
Iyaz, are you gonna switch now? Are you gonna move off of your iPod Touch?
It would make it a lot easier to move. I mean, I love this move by Samsung. The thing is, it's very aggressive. They have the capability of taking more market share away from Apple if they want to. Like Turpin said, it would be kind of neat if there was a way to say, hey, look, I have these apps over here. Do you have another app that's like this? If Facebook's on Android, it could be it's on iOS. Why can't I see what's on this phone? Or maybe just pre-select what apps I want to load on here. It's just this move of Samsung's like, look, you want to use iTunes, you can use it. That's fine. You can manage it that way. But we're going to make it easy. And I know the name sounds silly, but at least they put it easy phone sync, and they didn't go with some kind of like music migration tool. They went with something like, it's easy. We're going to make this really simple. They didn't do S move or something silly like they've been doing with everything else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think this is a really smart move from Samsung because they have momentum. And right now, people are waiting for the new iPhone, and the S3 is out right now. And that's
they should call it S-Sync, because then it'd be succinct. That'd be good.
That is a great idea.
Works. It's a good name.
That's why the S3 is delayed, though. For those who
all right, I think that means this conversation is over. So let's finish up with Tweetbot for Mac. Why are people so excited about Tweetbot coming to Mac OS X?
Because if you use Tweetbot, you know that it is the superior app. Now, I know it's only an iOS app, and I have sung its praises in the past. So there are some of you who are saying, shut up, sir. We can't even use it anyway. But there are many of you who agree with me. Tweetbot it's a third-party Twitter app, of course, and it has a lot of features that the native Twitter apps don't. For example, you can sync from the last tweet that you read over multiple devices. That's really helpful. You can mute people. You can mute hashtags. You can even mute certain incoming links. So if you just never want anything from Echo Phone. I'm using a silly example. You could choose to block that. So that's just a few of the things that you can do with Tweetbot. It also doesn't show ads, though, because, again, it's not a native Twitter client. So we've talked also a little bit about, for people like me, how are we going to help Twitter make money? Because we never see any of that marketing material. And unless Twitter sort of forces that by pushing it through an API, which obviously Tweetbot and other third-party apps use, how's that all going to kind of work out? Well, the reason I'm going on and on about this again is because Tweetbot is coming out with an OS X native app, which is pretty exciting for a couple of reasons. First of all, right now, the only OS X app that I have available that I use on a regular basis is Twitter's own native app, which works okay. But it certainly doesn't sync with Tweetbot that I'm also running on my iPad and iPhone. So I have like a trifecta that could sync really nicely, but they don't because they're not all made by the same company. But also, anybody who's familiar with the new Retina display on the MacBook Pro realizes that Twitter for Mac looks like you're trying to read tweets underwater. It's not optimized for whatever reason. They just didn't get their act in gear before this new MacBook came out, which is a little surprising to me considering that Apple and Twitter have a pretty good relationship, and at least on the iOS side, work in conjunction together really, and they have well.
Yeah, they have Retina apps on the iPad and iPhone. So
yeah, exactly. But not
why
only
not?
that, it's like when you think about this, you go, okay, well, it's just the Retina MacBook Pro. Maybe it's happening next week or coming down the pipe. But the Twitter app for iOS 10 doesn't even have the new Twitter bird, which we talked about again recently, the thinner bird that's looking up a little more skyward, that has a more slicked back feathers on his head. Is like, that's not even updated either. So I think to myself, it sounds to me like for whatever reason, iOS 10 apps just aren't a priority for Twitter. And that makes me wonder what the heck is a priority for them, because they've got third-party apps that people are flocking to, like me, because they're better. So it's not really just a matter of, they didn't create a Retina display app here. It's that they're not actually making products that are competing on a level playing field with some of their third-party apps that are better.
You know
now,
what
Tom,
I use that works everywhere I try it? The web.
Wow.
I go to this thing called twitter.com. It looks the same everywhere I go, and even the logos get updated automatically.
That's a great move, because I'm a guy who tried out lots of different Twitter apps, and the official ones are just awful. Because Twitter went out and bought a bunch of them. They don't sync. They don't have the same interface. They don't interact the same. It's just a cluttered mess. I think one of the reasons why Twitter this is actually why I'm excited about Tweetbot for Mac, but I think one of the reasons Twitter's not bothering with OS 10 right now is because there is such deep integration with Mountain Lion. There's a built-in tweet sheet. So there's really no reason for them to even bother to continue having an OS 10 app when the new version of OS 10 will have it built in a much cleaner and more integrated way. And hopefully it'll have better support for Retina displays.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably part of it, certainly. I mean, I was thinking like, maybe Twitter is going to buy Tweetbot, and so they don't even really care about changing anything right now because they're just going to use the technology that they understand is better. But that's sort of just, I would say it's wishful thinking, but it's almost not wishful thinking, because sometimes Twitter buys companies and then they suck. Really mad about TweetDeck when Twitter bought TweetDeck, and then TweetDeck got worse. So I'm not a mind reader. I certainly don't know what's going on behind the scenes at Twitter, but I love OS 10 apps. I like native apps on my desktop or my laptop or whatever. I just do. I don't always like Twitter to be a tab on my browser with a bunch of other stuff going on. So it is curious to me.
And then it's separate.
Then you have another window, and that's worse.
That's the same thing as an app. An app's another window.
Yeah, but then you get all that other fluff in a browser, like the address bar or whatever. I don't know. It's not the same.
The Chrome is Chrome.
Options that allow you to do things with it.
There are, but then they affect everything else, too.
It also means Twitter didn't solve your problem. It means that you solved your problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Come on, Twitter. Give me options. Don't make me conform to your lazy ways. Enough already.
Don't listen to me, people. I don't even like these new iPhone pants that are hitting the randomizer. Gadget Lab over at the Wired.com website has a story about iPhone pocket jeans that... Okay, you're like, okay, so they put a pocket on the front, right? No, it's like a freaking iPhone case, like a carrying case that is sewn to the front of the jeans. These are called the Delta A415 Wearcom jeans from Alphen Industries. They have a front right pocket with a transparent iPhone pouch, so you don't have to take the phone out. You just bend your leg up, and you can use it right through the pouch, and then you can close it and zip it up, and your iPhone is safely tucked away.
See, it does bother me when I've got my phone in my pocket, I'm listening to music, and someone phones me. Instantly, what I would do is just kind of answer it, just press a button. I don't know. I'm just like, hello.
You'd have to get really flexible.
Exactly. I guess with this, I could just open the front of my trouser pocket there and just have a look down at my leg. Also, it would give me a great excuse while in public. You know, why does he keep touching his coin? I'm not. I'm just making a call, if you don't mind. You know, just having a...
Don't play Fruit Ninja down there.
Fruit Ninja, yeah. Good at this. Yeah.
Audio listeners are missing out.
I can't see any problems at all with it. I think it's obviously going to catch on, and in the future, all of our clothes will have iPhone pockets in.
That's what the person who made the fanny pack said. I see no problem with this. It's only going to help people, right? No one will ever make fun of this. It will never be the butt of jokes. No pun intended to all the people who think fanny is something different than me. But
it sounds very military, doesn't it? It sounds like, oh, Delta Squad, yeah. Air Force pilots have similar things. Only they have like a cheat sheet on like how to fly a plane on their thighs. Maybe they were going that sort of inspiration of trying to get something close.
$160 for these jeans too, by the way.
Well, at least the iPhone doesn't have.
That's pretty standard. Got to be honest.
At least the iPhone doesn't.
I don't pay near $160 for my jeans.
Okay, I'm saying for jeans that are somehow special, it's not uncommon to pay $150 plus. For jeans.
Well, at least the iPhone doesn't have NFC because otherwise you have to kind of bring your leg way up when you're doing stuff. So
you pay for this. Yeah, hang on. It wouldn't end well. But the problem is like I like a particular type of jean. I'm sure you have like a favorite brand of jeans. The nice thing with iPhone cases, you can just buy any and they'll work with it. With this, you have to buy a specific pair of jeans if you want this functionality, and you might not like the look of them. I don't like the colour of them. And so it's only something we can pray catches on and becomes widespread across all jeans. It'd be amazing.
Well, then you have to buy new jeans every time they make the iPhone bigger, right? Because this pocket's pretty tight.
Economy, everyone's buying and selling. It'd be great. And then maybe Gazelle, maybe I could put old jeans on there. I put them on and say iPhone jeans. They say, okay, how's the edition? I say worn, but for jeans that probably increased value. It'd be brilliant. I can see it as a golden future.
All right, before this trouser conversation becomes pants, let's check the calendar.
Starting today, Verizon's Droid Razr Max and Droid Razr get ice cream sandwich. Android 4.0 coming to more phones with the blink of an eye. In iPhone news, the iPhone 4 and 4S are coming to prepaid wireless carrier Cricket today. No contracts at all. The 4S is $500. The 4 is $400. You can get more information at mycricket.com. Mario Marathon 5 is happening right now. It's an event to raise money for Child's Play, which is a great charity, helps improve the lives of kids in hospitals. Started today. I checked the total donations right before the show, and they were right at about $23,500, which is awesome. 100% of proceeds go to Child's Play, the charity, by the way. They're not taking anything. They're basically saying, we're going to play until the public demands we stop. So the longer you want us to play, the longer we will stay up and play this marathon event. So it's really cool. If you want to watch, we're showing a live feed right now. It's mariomarathon.com.
Where are these people out? Keep giving until they pass out.
Exactly. I mean, it's there's been great donations, and over the years, this isn't the first year that they've done it. They've done it about 4 years now, I think. Donations just keep going up every year, so they're on track to have their best donations ever. So definitely for a good cause. In other Apple news, Apple is expanding its online app store to 30 new countries in Africa, Europe, and Asia, as promised by Tim Cook back at WWDC. Includes countries such as Albania, Burkina Faso, and Fiji, just to name a few. This Sunday, June 24th, the AT&T Sony Xperia Ion is coming to you for $100. Monday, as Peter Rojas mentioned on the show yesterday, he was our guest. Monday, June 25th, you can head on over to the Gadget event in New York. Always a really fun time. Get your hands on gadgets that you wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else before they're available to the public. And finally, Mass Effect new ending is coming June 26th. Mass Effect fans, excited about that.
You're excited about that, huh, Terps?
I'm very excited about it. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm one of the few people who wasn't devastated by the original 3 endings. You did feel a little bit cheapened, but the actual journey itself, not so much destination, was a thing. So I'm all for free content. So that would be good.
I don't know. It seems like people complain so much, and it's finally coming, the 26th on Tuesday. So it's going to be a free download if you want to go ahead and get that. Hey,
I think it'd be really good. Really, I think it's something to look forward to. Just as to the game, and just as fans of gaming, it's interesting to see a developer and publisher do this based on fan feedback. So hopefully, it's a good thing. we'll see what it actually turns out like. It might even be worse. So time.
All right, let's move on to incoming.
Incoming message.
Start with an
TWiT
email.
writes.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
TWiT writes Tom, actually. He's directing it to all of us. This was about our discussion, gosh, was it last week, about Ethiopia banning Skype. He says, oh, that crazy issue of Skype, it's bad. Right now, we don't know how far the government is willing to go. But we have a big friend, which I'm personally not happy with when it comes to freedom, called China, with their humongous firewall and how effective they've been in their country. I don't think a few million internet users in Ethiopia will be difficult to control. If you haven't made the connection, the Chinese do a lot here. Roads, buildings, infrastructure, the ISP is full of them too. I hope this changes because I love my country and I'm sure that there are better ways of dealing with security threats. Well, thanks again for how you portrayed our country. I'll let you know if anything changes with VoIP. Until then, I've removed Skype from my computer and definitely not touching Viber either. I assume that's a Skype competitor.
Yeah, really good perspective from Ethiopia about China's influence on that country. I was really happy to get this email. But the thing that spooked me out the most is at the end when he's like, I've removed Skype from my computer. That's not the chilling effect. That's the freezing effect. Where people are like, I don't want to have the software around.
Effects.
Yeah.
Right.
Email from Doug in New Jersey. Here's a suggestion for the name for the next Xbox. Turn the 8 on its side and it becomes Xbox Infinity. Top that, Sony.
Oh, I like it. I like it. That'd be cool.
I'm sorry, that's too easy. It's going to be Sony.
You could get
PS.
2 of the Xbox little circles, and that'll make it. What happened there? And that'll make it into the infinity symbol. It'd be awesome.
No PlayStation Infinity Plus 1?
No, I don't think. Well, maybe.
This
There
childish
are
game will
multiple
continue.
levels of infinity, so it could work.
All right, before we finish up, I want to thank all of our folks who submitted our subreddit. TechNewsToday.reddit.com is the place to go to suggest stories for the show, TechNewsToday.reddit.com. Also, if you like anything, any point during the week, any of our episodes that you think should be on our best of show at the end of the year, send us what it is, and if you can give us the time code, that helps too, to TNT@twit.tv with the subject line, best of. Those of you who didn't get the audio podcast yesterday or got it late might be wondering what's going on. It came for most people, but not all. Jason, they can get it now, right?
Yeah, it was fixed this morning. It was something to do with how our CDN was caching the file. Some people got it. A number of people didn't. So if you didn't, go back to the feed and manually check it. This is for the audio feed only. Everyone else should have got it fine.
Terpster, thanks so much for joining us today, man. It was great to have you on, especially with we got some good gaming content in to talk about today.
Yeah, thank you for coming up with such great news, and everyone here at the studio. Thanks for having me. It's been great. It's been really welcoming.
Yeah.
Iyaz,
I'm glad you're right here.
You're the man. You're the man. There you go. High five.
You can find more of Mark Turpin at Turpin TV and at the Incredible Podcast of Amazing Awesomeness at crediblepodcast.com. It definitely both are worth checking out. That's it for this edition of Tech News Today. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. You can give us a call, leave us a message too. Our voicemail number is 260-TNT-SHOW. I'll be back in Petaluma on Monday. We'll have an all-new show with Nate Langston from Wired.co.uk. We'll see you then.
Brilliant.
Let me out of here, Tommy.